I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Hotep family, peace. Welcome to another exciting edition of HAPI Talks. I'm your host tonight, Taki Grant. Sister Felicia, Queen Felicia, will definitely be with us a little bit later. We have an exciting lineup for you tonight. But before we get started, definitely want to give our apologies for the late start. We originally scheduled at 7, they had to move it to 8. There's so much behind the scenes, things going on in regards to just getting everyone caught up on some of the things that's been happening. 2022, for those who have not been tuned in, it's been a hell of a year. It's been a lot going on. There's so much to update you guys on, and we're working on some of that information, some of that content. Hopefully we'll have it already for you tonight. Some exciting announcements from the conference, from the One Africa Power and Unity Conference in Detroit, April 30th and May 1st. Also, the exciting pilgrimage to the Nile we just came off of. The dates of that were May 29th to June 8th. That was a beautiful experience. Over 85-something people. We had one of the most beautiful times of Kemet I've had up until this point. And some of the great Africans to be with. I see some people here in the audience. Sister Mwenda May. Shout out to the Queen, the elder there that was with us along the way. The family was an extraordinary experience. Some great scholars, some of which we have in the background, backstage, I should say, waiting to be caught on. Mfundishi Jhutyms, a master teacher, and the brother Asar Imhotep, a giant in his own sense. So we definitely want to just kind of get everyone up to speed. Want to see who we have here. Shout out to Adori Ella, people here in the comments. And before we get started in the show, because it's definitely a special edition, we're talking about HAPI in terms of being this new African Renaissance. I know that may sound kind of pompous for us to say, but when we think of the work it is that we're doing and where we're headed, we are definitely a part of this overall African movement towards consciousness, overall African movement towards redeveloping who we are as a people. And just looking at this HAPI movement, one of the most essential things for me, just getting started with HAPI, was just really understanding some of the ways and mechanisms of which we could actually filter or force our liberation. And one of the things as we use as a model is the pyramid analysis that's given to us by Dr. Leonard Jeffries, which economics, politics, and culture. We all know as Black people, we have money. We have so much money that we spend it foolishly. We all know in some sense that we have some political movement, but the reality is what we're missing is the cultural piece. And one thing HAPI is designed to do is to bring all those things together. Another aspect of HAPI for us also is really the unity piece. Understanding when you look at the glyphs of the Nsut Biti or the Pharaoh, where they're seating on the power, on a seat of power. And that seat of power is unity. They seated right on the aspect or the glyph of HAPI. And it's so important when you see that, because understand that the only way we're going to get through this is through unity, true unity. And we have so many different divisions in our community, but we need to move past those divisions. And when we think about how we do that, we need to understand, as Malcolm said, understand first that we are Black. So with that, we're going to move into our show. I'm going to bring on my guest, and we'll just keep moving forward. And as we go along the show, we'll definitely kind of have you these exciting updates. I want to kind of I don't want to spoil anything, So we're going to wait until we have that information, and then we'll share it with the family. So with that, we're going to bring in the brother Mfundishi Jhutyms. Imhotep. Dua. Good to see you again, yes, brother Mfundishi. We're also going to bring in brother Asar Imhotep. Peace, my brother.
Peace and blessings. Moyo to the family. Glad to be here once again.
So, Asar, we're going to start with you. I understand we're kind of short on time, so we definitely want to, kind of get going. I understand you only have about a half hour with us here today, so we're going to just kind of get into what you said. So we just came off this pilgrimage to the Nile, and we were originally scheduled for February, and for many reasons, some of probably we'll get into a certain point tonight, but we had to change that time from February to May, well, really to June, because we're really the last couple of days in May. So we're going to say June. And we have a plan, and sometimes our plans are not what the Creator and the ancestors have for us. And it seems like what the pilgrimage we went on, the study tour we were on, was better than what we had planned for February. What is your feelings on that, Brother Asar?
Well, first and foremost, it was just an honor to be in the company of so many great African people from all ages, from the very young and teenager and adolescent to the elders, all interested and focused on the same thing, and that is the African unity, the learning of one's history, the honoring of one's ancestors, and the forging forward of a more prosperous future with those we network with and beyond. And so the fundamental issues that led to the moving of the date, I'm pretty sure, if y'all went to the or if you streamed the conference that was held in Detroit, y'all know my feelings of who I call the Arabized Russian bots. And so, but everything is in divine order, as the church folks would say. You cannot unorder, saying the steps that have been ordered by the divine. And so we had the conference. We went to Egypt, and we had a good time. We learned a lot. We networked with each other, and we're keeping the party going. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to build and to meet so many dynamic people in their own right, and to learn from them as well. So I hope I answered your question.
No, definitely. You had definitely answered the question. And one of the things is when I think about because originally the conference was, like, again, scheduled for Egypt in Aswan, and the dates were February 25th to 26th. And the conference was originally called the One Africa Returning to the Source Conference. We were dealing with the aspect of the connectivity of African cultures, the confluence of African civilizations, the language, customs, culture, ethnicity, and so forth. And when the attack came, one of the things that made me realize is that we're no stronger than our weakest link, so to speak. So one of the things I wanted to do was initially just go ahead right away and kind of speak to the power and unity in strengthening that link. And, the attack came from the outside, but it kind of impacted us on the way on the inside. So we had to maybe understand quickly that we need to figure out this unity piece in a very fast way. And, just looking at the overall divisions, again, not only in ideology, but also in the conceptualization of how we strategize, is something that's very interesting. People feel like, if you try to enfranchise yourself into the system, that is a bad way. If you be too militant, that's a bad way. If you be too holistic, that's a bad, you know what I mean? So we have all these different strategies, and even in the divisions of religion and culture, we also divide it in how we think and move forward. So, Mfundishi, when we talk about strategies on a different level, when you're someone who's very rounded on just different things, you shared something with us being, influenced by Malcolm X, such a beautiful story. And also just, from a holistic standpoint, how do we move forward in terms of our strategies? How can we unify? Because there's so many different schools of thoughts with that. How do we move forward in just strategy thinking on a unified front?
I think you're on the right path. You are not going to please everybody. You have to be dealing with Ma'at. We know what Ma'at is: truth, justice, righteous, harmonious balance. You know, if you deal with the politics, governance, and economics, you know that that's a formula that's going to work. We know what our ancestors did. And so all we have to do is follow suit. We can't get into debates with different people with different theories and different ideologies. And even those of us who are African-centered, who don't have no backbone, we can't waste no time with them. We got a program and we got to go forward. And I think that's what we're doing. I see we're rebounding right away, coming right back to Kemet. We're putting in new projects. We're putting in new Medu classes. Today I just opened up a new center, in Harlem. We're not playing, so I think we're on the path. We're on the path. We're capturing the moment. Don't wait for the correct moment. Make the correct moment. And that's what we need to do. We're not waiting for things to get right so that we can move right. We're making it right. And hopefully those other people will join us at some point. But if they don't, you'll see people like success. So the more success you get, the more those people gonna begin to move slowly to gravitate towards you. But we can't spend any energy on the no-sayers. No energy on ISFET.
No energy on ISFET.
That's my thing. We just maintain Ma'at and we can't go wrong.
Right. So mentioned a minute ago about your relationship with Malcolm X. And for those who don't know, could you just briefly share that story? Because I want to kind of pivot from that or segue into just Malcolm's philosophy on Black unity or Black nationalism. So you can just talk about your relationship with Malcolm?
Yes. Well, I just happened to be honored. Me and my spiritual brother was in Harlem going to Liberation Bookstore to get some books. And Malcolm was on the corner of 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. And he was passing out flyers for the Organization of Afro-American Unity. He had separated from the Nation of Islam. They had put him on suspension. And within that month, he was on his way to visit a couple of African countries. So I joined right at that point. He looked at me. He said, "Son, you look like you got potential," and hand me the flyer. So even at 14, I was like, God, if this sounds good, I'm in it. So I went to the meeting. I was captured by it. I got involved with several other people who were captured by it. And we became the youth group of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And I became the first youth president of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And then in New Jersey, we started a new group called Brands. It was, we would tell the parents, because it was a very militant age, that brands meant Black, real, ambitious, natural, and smooth. So everybody wanted to be Black, real, ambitious, but it really meant Black revolutionaries for a new society. But we couldn't tell parents that to get the kids to join up. So Malcolm was like our Jegna, that back, and we had like in Edison, New Jersey, we had like almost 100 people involved in this movement. We rented the school out. We wrote a grant. I wrote my first grant at 14, 15 years old. And that organization stayed all the way till I went into college. But Malcolm's group, and after Malcolm was assassinated, Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis kind of took me in and introduced me to Balozi Harvey, who was head of the African World Trade Center. And then he introduced me to the first Mfundishi Maasi. And we were the bodyguards. I took Bondo, Burmese boxing, from them. And we were the bodyguards for Mamo Amiri Baraka. At the time, he was Leroy Jones. So I was there for the naming of Leroy Jones to Mamo Amiri Baraka. And we elected the first Black mayor in the Northeast, Kenneth Gibson, in Newark, New Jersey. So that's how I got started in this movement. And it was about African unity. Malcolm, they would read letters as he would visit the various Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Egypt. And he would read the letters back, telling us operational unity is the way we need to go. We need to take our religion, put it in the closet, because if it hasn't done any better for us, it's not going to help us anyway. Your spiritual work is your personal business, but collectively, operational unity, Pan-Africanism. That's where Malcolm was heading, and that's why he had to be taken out.
So why was Malcolm so successful in terms of that endeavor? Because right now, and one of the things I'm seeing a lot is there's actually a frontal attack on Pan-African unity from within our own community. And it's really interesting reading some of the comments and some of the posts really lately, some things that's coming out. Foundational Black Americans against Pan-African unity. So a lot of this just kind of has me in so much dismay in terms of where we're headed. But we understand that with Malcolm, the path he was on is the only path we have to our liberation. I think Dr. Clark said it as well, Pan-African or perish.
Right.
So when we think about Malcolm X's success with that, why do you think he was so successful in terms of getting us on that path?
Well, I think he understood. You talked about on the chair of the Nasut Biti, it shows HAPI in unity of upper and lower Kemet unifying, right? So it was like ancient Kush and Africa unifying. And if we look, Kemet is the first example of Pan-African unity. When it came time to kick the Libyans out, Africans from deep south and central all came to their aid to kick the Libyans out. You know, so he was taking this example. In the back of my book, Spiritual Warriors Are Healers, there's another picture. There's a picture of me and Khalid. And Khalid was moving in the same direction that Malcolm was in before he was taken out. When he left the Nation of Islam, he became the new president of the new Black Panther Party. And Pan-Africanism was his cry. In fact, he was going to teach everybody Kupagani and Gumi, the African martial arts and everything. So that's where he was moving. So Malcolm, all of them, they can see that without operational unity, see, religion has always been a block. If we look at Africa today, almost central to north is almost all Islamic. From central to south is almost all Christian. In fact, if you practice traditional African spirituality, you're a minority in every country in Africa. I'll say that again, because I don't want people to think I stuttered. If you practice a traditional African spiritual system, you're in the minority in every country in Africa. That's all 54. And so there's an attack on our spiritual. See, they know that we're connected spiritual, and we've confused religion with spirituality. But spirituality, you have to still embrace your culture. Like Dr. Jeffrey's formula, politics, culture, and economics, your culture and your economics have to work together, and your politics reinforces that. So almost every African country is pro that. So we're getting opposition from people who, first of all, have not embraced African culture. That's where the opposition is. You still want to wear zoot suits and hot pants and have pink hair. Okay, all right, you know. So we have opposition cultural. That's number one. Politics is part of the system here. So we understand we have to have some control of our community. But sometimes we confuse that with politics. It should be governance. Okay, through my art, not politics. We realize that almost everybody in politics is part of the system, is part of the problem. Right. We've already had Black presidents and everything, and we see what that got us, okay?
Right.
So I'm saying again, everybody, the opposition, Taki, is that people are not connecting culture and economics together. They got a political program, but their political program is religious.
Right.
So they got to get the culture and the economics to reinforce each other on top of the governance.
Right.
And that's where our opposition is.
Right. Right. Thank you for that. So, family, just want to give a quick shout out to brother Dennis Boatwright, Sequoia, Olivia Marcia, Leo Wright, Tiffany Wright, everybody in the chat here. Just family, please leave a comment, like, and share the video. For those who are new to HAPI, you can go to the website www.hapifilm.com and please sign up for the newsletter, our monthly newsletter. We'll be back on track with that again this month. Definitely want to do that. Definitely want to give a shout out to Sharina Lofton, my brother Alonzo Jhutyms, everyone in the chat. And if those who I missed your name, we'll try to get to you a little later. Please like and share again in the comment. Now, brother Asar, a minute ago, we made mention of foundational Black Americans versus Pan-Africanism. And I just want to get your thoughts on that, because that seems to be what's the flavor right now. And again, I'm really curious to see how some people feel about that. We know pretty much as HAPI where we stand in terms of the Pan-Africanism. But how do we deal with this situation that's going on right now?
Thank you for your question. When it comes to the foundational Black American discourse, I'm not too detailed in my knowledge in terms of what is their particular talking points, what is the origin of their ideology in relationship to Pan-Africanism. So I can't give a accurate an informed opinion, I should say, regarding that. But I'm from the Hilliard school, and where the mantra is to be African or not to be. And so, whenever someone comes up with these new terms, trying to distance themselves, from being African and doing African things, that's I'm not compelled to listen to much of what they have to say. And it's not surprising in the least. And it just so happens that I had in my car today the infamous Blueprint for Black Power, Dr. Amos Wilson. And I was going over the chapter 2 on power. And a lot of our discourse isn't centered around power and the understanding of power and how people have used physical force and coercion and influence and other forms of power to shape the environment to make people think and behave and operate in a particular manner. And so it's oftentimes that I find myself in conversations with individuals, with people who think that they are quote unquote woke and conscious about things, and they are not that well informed about the world, about issues of power and politics and culture. And so it when people don't really kind of understand how these things interplay, it uh, it makes it hard to try to have that operational unity with folks, who don't have that background or who don't see uh, how certain things are shaping. You mentioned earlier about certain people within the community who are uh, utilizing their time and voice to, halt the advancements of, institutions and organizations and groups of people like the HAPI movement, for example. And they don't know that they are tools, pawns, instruments, of European white supremacy, even when they think that they are uh, being conscious in some way. It's almost like if you're familiar with the Matrix film, and in Matrix 1, Neo came to a little bit of self-discovery in terms of new abilities, new way of seeing things and the like. But when we got to the Matrix 2, he come to realize that he's still in the Matrix and that he's still a tool and an instrument for the Matrix itself. And a lot of people haven't gotten the Matrix 2 stage yet for even that realization. And so they move and operate in ways that still empower, the other, and disempower and disenfranchise, the ourselves and the people who they claim to be working for. And so it takes a certain level of consciousness, but it also takes a level of deep study and taking a step back and turning the camera off and turning the mic off and just being in solitude and sitting with those ancestors who left these deep and rich conversations, for us to reflect on and analyze, and then to see in what skills that they have developed so that they can come and find an organization or create an organization if one doesn't exist, so that we can move and advance the different causes, you know, and move the culture and things forward. But again, going back to your initial question in terms of foundational Black Americans and the like, I'm not too familiar. All I do know is that is just supposed another, you know, label or something taken away from ADOS, and you know, it's linking the reparations movement and the like. But I'm not too detailed in my knowledge in terms of where they stand and where I stand in reference to them.
Right. So, and I see some of the comments Brother Kevin put up some information about the reparations piece, and that's something I've kind of been privy to before, and that's beautiful. For me, the concerning piece comes in when we start to get into the divisions, and we start to kind of have conversations that start to alienate and isolate other Black people, and that's just something that's, I don't know if that's a road we want to head down as African Americans, Foundation of Black Americans, or what have you. So you mentioned the Hilliard School. Could you just give some information on what that is for those who don't know?
I'm just saying that in terms of like schools of thought and in relation to the late Dr. Asa Hilliard III. And many people know that I'm from Texas originally. I reside in Philadelphia at the moment. But, you know, Asa Hilliard originates out of Texas, not too far from Houston, where I grew up, in Galveston. Same thing with the late Dr. Jacob Carruthers, which was his cousin, actually. And so it's this, you know, I have this affinity for works created by our best minds in psychology. So you're talking about Dr. Asa Hilliard, and you're talking about Dr. Amos Wilson and others, Naeem Akbar, for example. You know, they help us to you know, delve deep into the psychological aspects of the human being and the motivations for their particular behaviors and the like. And you know, and I had a real fondness of Dr. Asa Hilliard, and I met him a couple of times. And he's recommended, you know, some very important works. He's the one that introduced me to Foucault, for example. You know, but you know, he has a famous paper, "To Be African or Not to Be," and I highly recommend, you know, many of y'all look up that piece. And so I'll stop there.
Thank you. So, Brother Mfundishi, we talked a minute ago about, and as I'm thinking about this, I see people commenting, several people who were on the pilgrimage to the HAPI with us, Sister Brenda Allen, Demetrius Keller, the brother Kevin. And what I see there is so many different people from just different, I said this, but generational pools. And again, we're speaking about this unity piece, how important it is for us to be unified within our generations as Africans.
Well, first of all, I think it's an illusion of the generational division. I think that our former oppressor puts that in front of us, just like in the work of Willie Lynch, the Willie Lynch work. I think, you know, those type of things are thrown in there, the old against the new, the male against the female, you know, all these type of things. I think we saw a good link between the youth, the middle age, and the adult and the elders on our trip. I think it was just a perfect combination. I saw the young people helping the elders. I saw the in-between people helping the youth, and back and forth. It was just a good mixture. And when we're in our right minds, moving towards a common goal, that's always going to happen among African people. We're the original people. We're planners. We're lovers. We, you know, it's only, see, crabs don't fight each other in the ocean. They only fight each other when you put them in the barrel on top of each other. And so that's the situation we happen to be in, on top of each other, trying to plot. And Brother Asar, Amos Wilson was a personal good friend of mine. We used to speak for 2 hours every week. every week. And he said, we see each other through European eyes. That Europeans have even defined success for us. So when we're successful in their paradigm, they benefit more than we do. That they get our best and they get their best to all fight against us. And so, I mean, even just think, when you go on vacation, they have defined what a vacation is. You go into France to see the Eiffel Tower. How is that going to help black people? But that's what white people do. You go on to lay on the beach and you're already black. You know, they have defined success. They've defined how we spend our money. I mean, James Small talks about this, how much money, $1.3 trillion. I mean, but we don't use that money to define ourselves because we're thinking just like Europeans are thinking, but not in that aspect. I think I threw this out. Our millionaires spend 90% of their money with Europeans. 5%, less than 5% they spend with us and 5% with everybody else. Europeans spend 95% of their money, millionaires, with Europeans. And then 5% gets dispersed among them else. Asian millionaires spend 75% of their money with Asians, another 20% with Europeans, and then 5% they spread out among everybody else. So we're the only ones that don't understand the commitment to culture. We're the only one that don't understand the commitment to people. And that's because if I use a quote by one of my good brothers who wrote the book on symptomatic thinking, we are thinking symbolically, and symbolic doesn't have to prove anything. Symbolically don't even have to be logic. And we find, and all religions is based upon symbolic thought. Just take my word for it. And if you don't, you're going to hell. So we get scared into things. You know, we think there's ramifications that is an illusion. And symptomatically, we're not thinking, is that concrete? Can we prove it? Is it factual? Can I research that? Can I back that up? And we created the scientific methodology. That's not a European phenomenon. And we are not even using the own formulas that we've created. And so I think we got to go back. Amos Wilson was so on it in so many different ways. That's why I think he was personally assassinated. I saw him a week before he died and he was fine. Okay. All right. So in the modern era, they can use bad health to assassinate black. They don't need the bullet. Every other black person you know got diabetes or high blood pressure or heart attack. So that's the new assassination weapon. But we got to reread his works over and over and over again. And again, cultural unity. I just want to say this, Taki. I do this to kids who are in the first grade. I said, do you know what a German Shepherd look like? And everybody says, yes. I say, so its origin is in Germany, and he looks a certain way. He's brown and black, pointy snout, and everybody's, yes. All right, we all know what a German Shepherd looks like. Okay, so no debate here. So now we take the German Shepherd and we bring him to America. Does he become American German Shepherd? No, he's still a German Shepherd. If we take him to Canada, is he a Canadian German Shepherd? If he has pups in the plane, is he a TWA German Shepherd? No, he's still a German Shepherd. Only African people take them out of Africa and they become Negroes, colored people, Afro-Americans. They become all these abstract entities. And we don't understand that the Matrix creates that. And all those people who think they're being powerful are actually working for the Matrix unconsciously. I think Brother Asa was making reference to that. We got a lot of people working against us. They should be getting a check from the government. They're actually paid agents in the name of consciousness. And so when you're anti your very existence, then you are doomed for destruction. And so the first thing we got to do is get a love for ourselves. And I think that's what we haven't gotten that back yet. And so a lot of the diversity we have is that we don't have a love for ourselves anymore. So I think this last movements that's happening in America and it's happening around the world, going back to being like Greeks and Romans, has done more damage than what 400 years of slavery did. 400 years after slavery, the black family was still operating together. At the beginning of the 50s, when it was separate but equal, the black family was poor, but it was still together. Now the black family is disseminated. Everybody want to be something that they're not. And so if we don't even want to be our same sex, trying to be African is at the bottom of the totem pole. So we got to get this love back for ourselves. We got to re-educate ourselves. Some of our problems, we know it. We're the only people not educating ourselves. And then we wonder why we messed up. We wonder why there's so much division. It's like sheep going to wolf school to learn how to be good sheeps. Right? You're going to be lamb chops. That's what you're developing. When you get a PhD in wolfism, you're going to be a lamb chop. So, I mean, and that doesn't take rocket science to figure out.
You know, you made mention a minute ago about systematic thinking versus symbolic thinking.
Right.
And I want you to give a few examples of that, because I don't think everyone in the audience knows what that is, or they definitely weren't with us in our pilgrimage to the now. But before we get into that, family, just if you could please, we got the Cash App going at the bottom. You can show your happy love through that or through the super chats. Definitely very important for us to keep that moving so we can continue this fight. Everyone that we work with us, we try to keep this money circulating within the community. We have some content coming out. We use Black creators for everything that we do, from the film side, the video side, creation, content, everything, so forth. So definitely the Cash App thing is going on the bottom. You can show your love there. Again, like, share, and comment on the video. If you don't want to do the Cash App, you can also definitely show your love with that. Go ahead, brother Mfundishi.
Brother Edgar Ridley, in his book called The Golden Apple, is a master of this terminology using symptomatic thinking. And so if I can just break it down really clear, symptomatic thinking, see, the brain only operates two ways, symptomatically or symbolically. If you're doing both, you're schizo, okay? It's one or the other. That's the way the brain kind of works, okay? So initially, for millions of years, man survived through a symptomatic thinking. Like you tell your children, this fire is hot. Don't touch it, it'll burn you. So the kid, he don't really, so his mind is trying to come to grips. Is that really true? So he sticks his hand in there. All right, fire's hot. All right, I'm cool. I'm not doing that no more. Symptomatically, I can prove and I know for a fact that fire burns and fire is hot. That's a symptomatic thought. Now, somebody tells you fire is the work of the devil and it's underground, and if you don't act right, you're going to get burned up in hell. That's an example of symbolic thought. You can't prove that. Nobody went to hell, got burnt halfway up, and came back with burnt marks all over them. Okay? You don't know nobody like that. That's all somebody. In fact, the church is admitting now that they created that story. It was Dante's dream about the internal inferno. And the Catholic Church has adopted it and used it to scare people into the church. You make up somebody. I don't want to step on anybody's religion, but you just make up a person, say he's the son of God or whatever. And then somebody said, yeah, even though I just made him up, somebody else said, yeah, that's my cousin on my mother's side. And now y'all all worshiping something this you can't prove, this fake, this fallible, and it cannot be proved. So, and here's another example. When we do the Medu Neter, do you remember the whole debate about nobody can read the Medu Neter? That was okay. That's another example of like people working for the Matrix. So we can show symptomatically that the letter A was a hawk vulture, the king vulture. Okay, we know the sound that it makes. We know that it has the keenest eyesight. We know that it has the longest wing spread of any bird in the air. And so we started the alphabet with us. Okay, so now then we made another symbol that looks like the falcon, the king bird. And then we made an abstract one that looks nothing like him, but we say it's the same sound. And our people love the abstract one that they can't prove is A. And I show them the real one, symptomatic, how we got the sound. And they, I don't believe that, Mfundishi. So that shows you that even when you are logical And I know, so you must come across that a lot when you're comparing certain things, and you can prove this symptomatically that that's profound. But people will take an abstract, and you don't have to prove anything. Like nobody has to prove the letter A is the sound A. You just, somebody told you in kindergarten, and you just believe it. There's no A growing in nature. You never went out to the forest and saw some A trees. You never saw some B's growing in your plant. You never saw C's growing up, you know, okay. But those are all abstract, symbolic symbols that we assign a sound to. We assign a meaning to. Symptomatically means that I can prove it. For example, here's an example. Do you realize the best long distance runner in the world is a human being? No other animal can run as long and as endurance as a human being. And that's so that we can eventually symptomatically run down our prey. So I shoot the deer with a poison arrow. The deer jets out. I'm running behind him. The deer's jetting. He's going at 40 miles an hour, so I can't catch him. But eventually, after a mile and a half, and the brother is still running. Boom, 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 boom. And eventually the deer drops, and he's right there, and he's got dinner. Symptomatically, now we can say, okay, even horses can't run as long as fast as a human being. Symptomatically, I can prove this. So symptomatically means it's logical. It can be proven. I can show you beyond the shadow of a doubt. And that's how the brain is supposed to work. So somebody has convinced us that I can take you out of Africa, like I did the German Shepherd, and you cease to be African. I tell people who are Dominican, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Trinidadian, American, the only difference between y'all and the African on the continent is a boat stop. That's the only difference, a boat stop. So symptomatic versus symbolic. People, we got to go back to thinking. He has a book called The Answer to Africa. Africa is the most symbolic thinking people right now on the planet. Superstition comes from that. So you got all these superstitions and things like that you can't prove, but you put your whole life on it, and it distracts you from doing the real thing that you can prove. And so symptomatic thinking, we just developed a map. I think it's one of the most dynamic maps that exists in the world now. You can see how big it is. It has all the cities in Africa and in Kemet with the Medu Neter on it. We got the first, second, third, and fourth golden age, all the kings, their origins, the valley, the burial grounds, all the place we went with the original names. You remember on the trip, I was always on our guys, don't give us no Greek name, don't give us no Roman name. So we develop a map with the 42 oracles of Ma'at, all the cities in Kash and Kemet with the Medu Neter names written, and we got the glyphs there. So we wrote in the Medu Neter and we put the glyphs in. So that's an example, Taki, of symptomatic thinking. I know the Matrix, when I go to the museum, the first thing they got is a map of Africa upside down. Then they got all the ancient names of Egypt in Greek and Arabic, which didn't even exist in 4,000 years ago. And we don't question it because we get our PhDs and master's degrees in this because we've been trained by the Matrix. But we don't question the Matrix training, which we should. That's like let me go back. That's like the sheep don't question the wolf training. So if the sheep don't question the wolf's training, he's going to be a lamb chop. We got to understand that that's symptomatic thinking. So we want to think like our enemy. What Carter G. Woodson in 1931 wrote the book, The Miseducation of the Negro. And in that book, he shows reference that our most educated by our oppressor will be our new enslavers. And so that's what you saw on that trip that didn't happen. You saw our PhDs, our top line defending our enemy. And they were trained to do that. No matter how Afrocentric you see, they were trained to come to the aid of our enemy. Yeah, master, I did a good job. I stopped them Negroes, you know. And they get rewarded, you know.
Yeah, they what happened was they just made the situation better and stronger, because what we did in Detroit was much, the concept of what happened in Detroit was much greater than the concept we were thinking in Kemet. Kemet, the information was coming from an academia standpoint. We were dealing strictly with just, again, the confluence connectivity of African cultures. In Detroit, we were talking about Pan-African unity on all levels. We had conversations on economics. We had Sister Georgina Falou there, help people setting up 501c3s and corporations. We had conversations on Black love, conversations on community, how to stop violence in the community. All these are all different things that took place that we weren't originally supposed to be having. The conversation was supposed to be very streamlined in Egypt, but then it got, expanded.
Resistance makes you stronger.
Yes, sir.
As a martial artist, as a Manchu combat artist, if you're not straining, if you're not struggling, if you don't have any opposition, you don't grow. And so that's what happened. You had some opposition, and it made you better because you had to make an adjustment. Symptomatically, you saw what works versus what doesn't work. And so we got to just keep in that mode. In fact, the formula for success is what? Setbacks and failures.
Yes, sir.
That's the stuff that makes the ultimate success.
Yes. And definitely want to give a shout out to everyone that kind of stood in. There were some people just unsure what was going on, and they pivoted in a different direction. But a lot of people, particularly those here in this audience, that really, really stood tall. And definitely want to say, we shout out to all you guys. We love you. And your strength and your support is what keeps us going. Brother Asar, you, when you speak of language a lot, you always bring in the math philosophy to explain the language dynamic. Is that a form of systematic thinking? And if so, can you give an example how the mathematics deals with the language in a systematic way?
Well, yes, thank you for your question. We have to remember that all forms of speech are symbols. All language is just agreed upon symbols for a given population and their offspring, right? We take breaths and we exhale, and when we activate our voice box, we move our tongues in a certain way. Our glottis moves up and down in a certain way, whether we use our lips, or our teeth, or the top of our mouth ridge or whatnot, to make these particular sounds. It's just code that we all agree upon. It's all symbols. And matter of fact, not even anticipating that question, doing some own study for my work for school and stuff, and I'm holding the book here, Logic, Language, and Meaning, Introduction to Logic, volume 1, and there's a volume 2, of course. And you will see in a book like this, how language and mathematics is linked together. And so there's different types of languages. Of course, we have like sign language, we have natural language, which is the language that we're speaking now, and then you have formal language. Formal language like logic, it has its language. Mathematics is a formal language. When I code, and whether it's Coltrane, Coltrane, Fortran, and the like, or if it's just .NET, if it is if I'm coding in Linux, for a Linux operating system or something to this nature, they're all formal languages in which I use to communicate. And so what I try to get people to understand is that when you can understand and learn new languages, it gives you an edge up when you are studying mathematics. And if you are conscious of the relationship between mathematics and language, because mathematics is simply the study of logic, or excuse me, the study of everything that obeys logic using the rules of logic, right? And if we want to take this a step deeper, one of the definitions of ma'at is order. And all order is logic. It is about a line. It's about rank, right? You know, a private is at the bottom of the rank of the order versus a 5-star general, right? And 5-star general can turn around and give an order to a private, but you can't do it in the reverse. And so there's a line, there's an order to things. And it's the same thing with language. And so even the way that we speak, the codes that we agree to, it has to be in a certain order. Otherwise, it just comes out as gibberish to us, right? If I say store cookie street down coffee, right? Like, we understand the words, but the way that I put it in the order, it just doesn't make sense. If I rearrange some stuff, you know, I went to the store and I bought a cookie, right? It makes sense in terms of English because there's an order and there's a logic to it. And so when we're looking at meta nature, there's a logic to it. There's an order of operations in terms of how to read it, in terms of how to interpret the classifiers or quote unquote determinatives at the end of the speech. And when I'm doing the comparative work, I'm showing people how the order and the logic and the semantics of the language matches the same order and logic as Yoruba, for example, or Chiluba in Central Africa. And that you can understand these logical processes and recover, you know, African history, African thought, African ways of being, African motivations for behavior, African values, and the like, because they're operating off of the same logical system. And these are the things that we got to keep in mind. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add another aspect to it. So yes, that you have the pure logic, and that still falls within symptomatic thinking. But also, I need to add the culture piece to it, because some of your logic depends on how you interrelate with culture. So people in the desert are going to have a similar ideology, whether they're in the desert in Africa or the desert in Asia. People who live in the rainforest share a certain cultural phenomena. So whether they're in the Amazon or in the Congo, you're going to find a real similarity because of the symptomatic thinking of logic here, of the mathematics. When we see the formula for pi or the golden means, a person had to have studied nature, the mathematics of nature, in order to even come up with that. When we say a meter was a measure of a raindrop or just a drop of water, and that became a standard, somebody had to have a relationship with nature. And nature helps define culture. Culture is how you relate to nature. So that has to be within that formula of the mathematics.
And a good example of I mentioned the word a semantics. A semantics is the way that a population or a culture maps ideas to words. It's one of the ways that we can trace the relationship between languages. So, for example, in many African languages, the word for foot is also the word for place, because you have to put your foot down. Like, you know, we don't exist in space. We don't float and or whatnot. When your feet are on the ground, you are in a space. They semantically connected these two concepts. It became part of the grammar. So when you're reading the ancient Egyptian, you have the word, you know, the symbol, the leg and foot, the B or boo, is prefixed to words and it becomes the abstract. It's the same thing in other African languages. So like when you say Buganda, that's the original word for Uganda. Over time, the B has dropped. Buganda is the word Bu is the same Bu that is in the Meta Nature, and is used to locate a place, and ultimately becomes a word for foot. And so it's these cultural mind mapping semantics that link histories, that link people. And now we can start talking about migrations and what kind of cultural concepts were retained or innovations and things over time. It's these little details,
and that's symptomatic.
that connect, African people. Go ahead.
And so I was just showing you just gave a perfect example of symptomatic thought being used because of a relationship with culture, and people are sharing this. When you step outside of that paradigm, that's when the crazy stuff comes in. That's when things become illogical. That's when things can't follow that's when you come out of ma'at. Because you just stepped outside of the mathematical formula. There's no consistency here. It's just that somebody said it's like that. And so we got to stop thinking symbolically. For example, how can you believe in the school that Columbus discovered America? I mean, there's so much proof showing not, but symbolically, 90% of people in America still they're going to celebrate Columbus Day with flags. That's symbolic thinking. So we got to step outside of the symbolic thinking, and symptomatic thinking has to replace it in order for us to get into our right mind. So therefore, we got to develop the books. I see you do that. You're developing the books because we got to be able to teach our truth. I'm developing books. I'm developing maps. I'm developing culture programs. For my Madhu Netcher class, I developed the cards that are there. I developed the alphabet, the biliterals, the triliteral cards, and they look like Black people because I realized symptomatically we have to begin to love each other. So I got to make this logic. I got to make love logical. And not to like yourself, totally unlogical. And then I show you that leads to your destruction. And when people are thinking like that, the first thing I tell them is don't drink the Kool-Aid. Okay.
So, family, you guys are hearing it here on Happy Talks. I just want to just, for clarity purposes, so either one of you can kind of chime in on this. It sounds to me like systematic thinking is being a scientist and dealing with African sacred sciences in a way that we were the first people on this earth to really take systematic thought and have that synonymous with, being able to chart the stars, chart the earth, or knowing how would you say the 5 domains comes from, just being a scientist. And I just want to add something on that note. Brother Asar talked about the foot. First time I heard that, and his explanation came from when we were producing the HAPIFILM. He gave an excellent explanation of what that meant, or just the foot and its representation to systematic thinking. For those who have not seen the film, you can get it on the website. But just so before we get back into the film, I just want to go back into the scientific piece and just speak about how that science piece helped us develop this rich culture and civilization that we have, particularly along the Happy Turtle, along the Nile River. And before you answer that, shout out to Sister Queen Sequoia for your super chat. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. So either one of you doesn't matter, can talk about the scientific aspect and how it relates to systematic thinking.
Well, I just like to say that we created the whole scientific methodology. That's not a European thought pattern. That's not how they think. And in order to develop science, you have to have not only a great love, but a great understanding of nature. You can't plot the stars and not have some type of relationship with it. You can't plot the maps that we created. You had to have a relationship with the planet. To become a herbologist, you had to have a relationship. When they asked George Washington Carver, how did you invent 300 things from one peanut? He said, I had a relationship with it. He says, now watch this. I want my listeners to listen up very carefully. He said, and this is symptomatic thinking. He says, when any two energies have a unconditional love between each other, gratitude that secrets are exchanged. I'm going to say it again. That's you in a mineral, you in a plant, you in an animal, you in another human being, you in a spirit. When there's unconditional love and ma'at and gratitude, gratitude is the key. Because see, regular love, I love you, and if you don't love me, I'm feeling all bad and everything. All right, no. But gratitude is that I love you because I want to, because I think it's the ma'atian thing to do. And if you don't love me, that's your problem. Okay, but I'm loving you because I know that's the right thing to do. And so when that is exchanged, when that gratitude and unconditional love is exchanged between any two energies, that's why I teach the mineral domain, the plant domain, the animal domain, the human domain, the spirit domain. You can have a relationship with that, and you gain secrets through that relationship. And that's another form of symptomatic thinking, showing that love is a formula for ma'at, to bring harmony. And so what we're finding is that we don't have this love for each other. And that's why people hating on you. They're not hating just on you. They're hating because they don't like themselves. They don't like what they represent, or they don't like what they've been told about themselves symbolically. Okay. Right. So symptomatic thought is scientific. It can be proven. It's logical. There's a rhythm to it. Like the whole universe is operating in a rhythm. And music, to be a great musician, there's a rhythm, there's a formula. You know, and we're looking at, when you look at the statues, this is perfect. We just came from Kemet. When you look at the statue of Ursa Ma'at Ra, Satepen Ra, it is perfect on both sides. Symptomatically, you just can't freehand and get it exactly perfect on both sides, so that the eyes are symmetrical with the nose, the lips is forming a perfect pyramid. And then that's, you know, we cut that in half, and we got the formula for pi. That, you know, that pi, phi, and the golden means are all in the building of the pyramid. That's not an accident. That's symptomatic thought. And once you create and you understand symptomatic thought, and you understand this formula, then you can duplicate it over and over and over. And I'm sure, Asar, you know, once you get a formula that you can prove that is, then you can duplicate that infinite amount of times, and you're going to come up with the same results. That's symptomatic thought. Symbolic thought, no, you're going to get all different type of answers, different places, different things. You're going to be a Negro one week, colored the next week. You're going to be an Afro-American, even though you got a bald head the next week. We got to be consistent in our thinking. Symptomatic thinking.
So, you know, I was going to those people who missed the One Africa Power and Unity Conference. You missed a real special treat, but don't worry, we got something for you. But in that, so I was listening to your presentation, and when Brother Mfundishi was talking a minute ago about Ma'at and love, you spoke of Ma'at, and you know, in the sense of just food and being able to give food to someone. I know that's also a love offering, but can you just elaborate on that, please?
Yes. What you're speaking on is a research project that I've been involved in for a number of years, trying to trace the etymology of the word Ma'at, and come to discover that, you know, what we're calling Ma'at is several different words that kind of have, you know, merged in the ancient Egyptian culture. And there's several different ma words that I discuss in the Luja Volume 2. And so the Ma'at that came to be the social steering instrument for the culture of ancient Egypt is ultimately the word for, they say offering in the literature, but I've redefined it as open-hearted sharing, based upon, you know, African culture and its milieu. And when I went further and deeper into the reconstruction process of African languages, I come to discover that essentially the word ma'at and the word for love derive literally from a verb meaning to share food, to extend your arm and to share food. And this hospitality basis of African culture is the basis for the Ma'atian culture itself, which is why in the declarations of not innocence of what's the other one? Because
you talking about the 42
they
oracles of
yeah,
Ma'at.
they say the admonitions, but it's I don't like using the word admonitions because there's a declaration of virtues. One of the virtues is I have, fed the hungry, I have clothed the naked, and given both to one who needed it. Right. The objective was to share one's resources with others and those in need. And ultimately, that's what love is. It's the ability to share one's resources with others so that they can be at a state of optimality, right? And so when we just are doing our basic uh, going over someone's house, the first thing that we do is we offer drink and food because and this is an old custom especially back in the day when you literally had to walk miles and miles to get to the next village or something like this. You want to make sure that the person was refreshed and that they were good because ultimately you can't really do business and converse on the if you're hungry and focus on getting water and stuff. So this puts you at a restored state and you're able to move and live at an optimal state of health and life. And it's from this basis that the culture of Ma'at, which is Mbak amongst the Basai in Cameroon, which is in Lungu among the Bakongo in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Mat amongst the Kalenjin people of Kenya. This principle in this various dialectical forms still exists in Africa and is still a central pillar to the culture, of the people of Africa. So my analysis has allowed me to discover these particular interconnections.
And just the word to give is a pie or cake. And just like that, new people coming to the neighborhood, you come with a cake or a pie to welcome them. The sharing of food.
Wow, that's powerful when you think in terms of just how we were able to capture the essence of who we are as a people and the language. And this is why studying the language is so important, family. This is why really studying who we are and the language is connected to our culture. Our culture defines or dictates and mandates how we use our money, how we govern our economics, how we govern ourselves, our politics. All comes from the culture, and the culture comes from just understanding who we are. And with that, we while we were in Kemet, we had several conversations about many things, and one of the things came out of that powerful pilgrimage was the need for a new meta class. And a lot of what you guys see here at HAPI came from me as a foundational piece studying the language under Mfundishi about 20 years ago. And we just happened to have a conversation about the possibility of doing something again. And I said, we need a space. We already got a space. And I, unbeknownst to myself, we didn't. This stuff was already in the ether, was already working. So once we saw that, it was like, wow, we just got to go ahead and go with that. So with that, we're going to talk about some of the things that came from this eye-opening, transformative experience we just came out of. And one of the things is this Meta class that is starting when, in Mfundishi?
July 10th.
July 10th.
And it'll go to September 5th, which is the week that we leave to go to Kemet.
Okay.
So
okay.
It's 15 sessions, 15 classes.
15 sessions.
And it's a master class. I have my regular students teaching them to do nature, but this class is a lot of what you heard Asar's research is doing. I do this with almost every symbol in the Medu Neter. And we start by taking every animal, and I want you to do research on it. And you find symptomatically, how did our ancestors look at this animal? Now we begin to see, why did they even use that sound? Or why did they even use that word to describe that? And so, as I'm teaching the Medu Neter, the foundation is the whole symptomatic thought process, where we go through every object, every animal. And so not only are you learning the Medu Neter, I'm now teaching you the culture, so that now you begin to think the way our ancestors think. Because what happened is that you're thinking like you're from New York, and you're trying to understand the Medu Neter. There's going to be a conflict there. Because our culture is like night and day, you know? We're not thinking about sharing food, Brother Asar. We're not thinking about that when we say hello to somebody, you know? So we got to change this whole mindset. So at least in this, and I'm calling this a master class. So this is a master class in the Medu Neter. It's Medu Neter and Kemetic spiritual system. And
wow,
so, you know, so that's what we're going to do. And we're preparing people. So if you've already been to Kemet, it's going to give you a greater understanding of Kemet. If you are going to Kemet with us, it's like a prerequisite, because now when we go into the temples, you don't have to just take my word for it symbolically. Symptomatically, you'll be able to see. So Taki was hitting things symptomatically. Okay. He wasn't just guessing. Okay. So, but if you don't know the language and you're just going by what the Egyptologist said, like our guide was just saying some stuff, sometimes it didn't even make any sense. You know, so I would check them and then they would go, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. Because they have been taught symbolically. See, sometimes a guy just takes a 6-week course, they get certified, now they're out there teaching you. You know, so symptomatically, I want you to go on the trip to Kemet, being able to read at least the Shin, the names of the kings, know some simple structure, know what a Hotep De Nasut is, know what the funeral writings is, know when it's a command, to understand the Neteru, the principles on the law. They're not gods and goddesses. They're principles and laws. Principles and laws. So we're not arguing about, remember, a principle in the law is based upon some logic and is based upon symptomatic thought. So we're not debating about it. That's a fact. Now, how do we use that symptomatically in our life? So the master class is going to be teaching that. So again, it starts July 10th, and it'll go all the way to September 15th. It's going to be on a Sunday and a Monday. So it'll be 2 times a week, except for 3 weeks when I'm in Brazil, it'll be 1 time a week.
Right. And we also want to make mention that this class is also an in-house class, and there's also a virtual option as well for people. And it's a tremendous space. It's a beautiful space. It's a new a community center, if you will, that's just been built in Harlem, here in New York, and it looks almost like the inside of a Kemetic temple. The brother that put it together did a lot of great work, and I definitely you should all visit this location, and if we can, just want to flash up the address, because it's tremendous space. It looks like an open air museum. When I saw the images of it, in fact, you can go to our Instagram page, and we did a live day today, in fact. And I was just amazed. I didn't know it would look anything like that. I was blown away by what I saw. It's a beautiful space to study the Medu Neter. It definitely will encourage systematic thinking, just in its the space itself. And she also spoke about this upcoming trip to the Nile. We are pleased to announce, due to a high demand, that we're putting another pilgrimage together to the Nile, led by Mfundishi. And the dates are September 9th through September 17th. For those who are interested, you can go to the website, aketours.com. But before we get into the aspects of the trip, we want to go back into this class again. For people who are interested in signing up for the class, there's a registration form on HAPIFILM.com. And you go there and you can sign up for the class, register as soon as possible. Space is limited inside. For those people in the New York City area, I advise you, as being a student in the Medu Neter class with Mfundishi many times. Virtual was great, but if you're in the area and you can make it to the class, I highly recommend that you're there. There's nothing like being in that space. It's almost like
if you're within 100 miles, you should be there. You should come. Even the space is going to energize you. Like
yes, the space will energize you.
Like
yes.
You come into this class, my class, it's like you just stepped into the Kemetic temple. And you know, so the symptomatic thinking, the atmosphere. When Felicia came today, she was totally blown away, you know, inside of the temple. So if you can come, like I said, if you're within 100 miles, you can come get there Sunday evening 7 to 9 or Monday evening 7 to 9. But those people who live in Los Angeles or someplace else, Texas, whatever, we're going to live stream it. So you'll be able to have a virtual class and still see what we see. You know, so you don't get the exact same effect, but it's still going to be empowering. So we encourage you, no matter where you live, you can be part of this class.
Yes. So it's let's talk about the class for a minute. So it's total what, 15 weeks?
Yes.
15 weeks, and it's 2 days.
No, not 15 weeks, it's 15 sessions.
15 sessions, okay.
Because it is a Sunday and a Monday.
Okay.
A Sunday and a Monday, a Sunday and a Monday. Except for the 3 weeks I'm in Brazil, it'll only be on a Monday.
Okay, 15 sessions. And it's Sunday, Monday, and it's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Right.
So I hope everyone got their notes out, taking notes for this. Information again is on the registration form, is on the website, at HAPIFILM.com, www.HAPIFILM. Definitely go to the class and you're registered as an actual tab for the class. Definitely you want to take advantage of this, particularly those who have been to Kemet, those who are interested in going. The master teacher said it best himself. It'll really help you understand what's going on. You don't want to get there and feel like you don't understand what's going on. And knowing the language will give you a very strong foundation in terms of that which you can build upon. So when you hear different things, now you can build upon the information you already have. It is no better place than starting with the language.
Language is the expression of a culture. And your culture is an expression of how you relate to nature and the creator. And so they fall in line with each other. When you only can speak, we say, for example, if you can only speak your oppressor's language, you're crazy. You're out of your African mind. If you only can speak your oppressor's language and he's not speaking your language, then you're learning his culture and are ignorant to your culture. And so that's why it's so important you to be, kind of multilingual. You learn more than one language. And then as you do that, you learn more than one culture. As you learn more than one culture, you begin to understand human beings and nature even better. And now you'll understand why we created Ma'at. Now you understand why we created the greatest temples in the world, the most perfect building in the world, because of our relationship with nature. And then the language helps you understand that. And debunking, you realize that slave labor couldn't have built the most perfect building in the world. Slave labor couldn't build a perfect building that's took 500 years to build, and it looked like the same architect, engineer did it. Okay, so by understanding the language, that debunks the symbolic thinking that European Egyptologists have placed on us. Remember my analogy, lambs going to wolf school and lamb chops. Okay, and lamb chops. Okay, all right. So just keep that analogy. You have to take control of your education, take control of your relationship, and take control of how you love. And you love with gratitude. You love with gratitude.
Love with gratitude.
Yes,
love with gratitude.
The greatest form of love. And
all right, Happy Movement. HAPIFILM.com. Sign up now. Sign up now. This is the foundation right here. Part of this new African Renaissance. And it starts with the foundational piece, which is understanding who we are as a people. And there's no better mechanism to do that than learning our language, our classical African language, the Mfundishi. We have a powerful class coming back in-house. I'm happy to see this again. When we first did it was 4 or 5 students, I believe, and we did it in Dr. J's house. This is back in 2002, over 20 years ago. And it was a small group of us taught by Mfundishi, and it was a powerful experience. And I still have my notes, and I brought them with me on the trip. And I was showing them, still have my notes from back then. And I strongly recommend, if you are, brother said, in a 100-mile radius, If you are anywhere in the New York City area, tri-state area, you want to come out to this class every Sunday and Monday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. If not, if you can't do that, then it's always a possibility. As always, we have the way now through this technology piece. We can live stream it, and the classes will be live streamed for those people.
So they'll be live streamed and recorded. So just to say you miss a class, you know, something happens. Come on, stuff happens to all of us. You might be, that will be recorded. You can go back and see the class that you missed. Or let's say you was in the class and it shot past you. You can go back and revisit that class and listen to it for the second time. So we're offering all of that within the technology we have today.
Yes. Definitely. So with that also, we again make this announcement. We're happy to say that we're going back again to Kemet. We had an amazing trip. There were people around us earlier that kind of try to get in the way of some things, but we're moving forward, and we had a beautiful experience. To date, for me personally, I can say is one of the best trips to date thus far, and it was an amazing experience. I know several people on this Zoom now, on this live stream, brother David Murphy and others. Definitely want to shout out to everyone that was there. It was hot. We had some real troopers. Give a shout out to the elders. We had to actually give them an acknowledgement for just how powerful the spirit was in them to carry on in some of this excursion. And we did something for the first time. We actually had the HAPI tour. For those who've seen the film, we visited the places that were actually in the film. Some places that are what we like to call a kind of obscure. One thing, if you go to Kemet or you go to visit Egypt, they like to give you things along a certain corridor to try to confuse you symbolically. But when you see Kemet, is the places they don't want to show you. And the HAPI tour revealed those places, and we've got a chance to really do some things off the beaten path, so to speak. And the people were very pleased with that. So that was the first HAPI tour, and we plan on doing that again. Definitely those who are interested in this trip here, this pilgrimage to the Nile here. There's a Nile cruise. We brought that back into the equation. The dates again is September 9th to September 17th. Felicia, you want to put that up on the screen? And you go to aketours.com to register for the trip. So while people are doing that, brother Mfundishi, you want to kind of talk about your experiences there while we were in the Nile on this past pilgrimage we had, brother?
Surely. That was my 31st trip. And I went with my cup empty, and I got a whole lot of things. I mean, we went to some places, like you said, off the beaten path that normally they don't take you to. Like when we went to, what is it, Harkuf? We went to Harkuf's tomb. That was like, I encourage people to read that. I've read the notes on Harkuf about 50 times, but I had never been to his tomb. So that was like a plus for me. That was just so powerful. It was like 120 that day. But it was okay. I mean, it was just so powerful here. This is a person from the first golden age, you know. So I had a couple of treats like that. You know, we went to someplace else that was just totally I had never been to. But I love the idea that we went to some places that's off the beaten path, you know, that's part of this Kemetic spiritual system that the Egyptologists don't really want you to see, you know, because nobody could be arguing whether Harkuf was black or not. Nobody can argue whether he was African or not. And here he is with his writing on the wall right there. And I was translating for people. We were reading it, and it was showing you how powerful it was. In fact, the King Pepi, before they led an expedition out to Yam in the Western Desert, he made you go to Harkuf's tomb and read his explanation of 3 or 4 trips he made and his connection with the Twa people. The Anu, the short people, that he had already made expeditions and brought them back to Kemet as part of the royal court. So that's all within that tomb. And so I was just elated to be there and to read that firsthand, as opposed to just looking at the books that the Egyptologists put out. So that was a treat, Jackie.
Yeah, and the first time I actually visited Harkuf was when we went to film HAPI. And it was such a treat for me because Harkuf has always been a huge part of the discussion in terms of just understanding the relationships between the kingdoms of the Nile. And Harkuf speaks about those trade expeditions to Yam and talk about how they were friendly, and we know Yam to be ancient Kerma or Kash, and the narrative that the Egyptologist teaches is very different than that.
Yes.
So we look at what the Kemet you said about who their friends were, who their neighbors were, and how they reverenced them is very different. And Harkuf was one of those examples again of Pan-African unity. And this is why, you know, this HAPI movement, when we talk about Pan-African unity and this African Renaissance, is such a huge thing. And Harkuf is definitely, I like to call him one of our stewards. And we also went to,
yeah, and that's just another example of symptomatic thinking. We saw firsthand the relationship, as opposed to taking somebody else's word that had us thinking that ancient Kash was the enemy of Kemet, you know, and we see him under the feet, like the Tutankhamun exhibit where a Nubian is under his feet. Asians is under his feet also, but they don't talk about that. They only talk about, so that's another example of symptomatic. We were able to see firsthand and then read it. And now we see the relationship that the Africans had, the Africans of the North and the Africans of the South had this Pan-African unity. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt there.
No, not at all. And because that's a key aspect to what it is that when we think about, even one of the places that we visited was the tomb of Akhmo, son of Abana, and Al Kab or Nekeb, which was a huge aspect of who we are also as a people. So I was just really kind of happy that we had an opportunity to visit these places and have an opportunity to share with the family. But you know, it was hot. It definitely was hot, and definitely want to give a shout out to everyone that, you know, trooped it on that in this fantastic experience.
When we went to Setai One's temple, that was another 120-degree day. But what
yes,
was
in the Bible, yes,
we went to the Osirian temple behind Seti's temple, which was probably 10,000 years old. It had no Medu Neter on it. The only symbol we saw was the golden what is not the golden, the flower, is it the golden flower? What do we call it?
The tree of life.
No, we had the flower, the symbolic, the circles within the circles. It was the something flower, flower of life. I forgot exactly the terminology, but that was a symbol, which is pure mathematics. Pure mathematics. And this temple is about 10,000 years old. And that was the only glyphs on it. You know, and so we didn't get a chance to see the temple next to Haru Emaketi. I hope we get a chance to do that one this time. I hope we can stop at Haru Emaketi. There's a temple that's adjacent to Haru Emaketi, and there are no right angles on that particular temple in the walls. Everything is circular. So that means that they were using sound and water to manipulate energy. See, again, symptomatic thinking. We can see, why would you go out of your way to make sure no right angles existed in the corner? There had to be some form of logic upon that. And you need a greater level of engineering in order to pull that off. So that's just not something you're just doing for funds. Oh, let's not have no right angles. No, you got to have a reason for that. So I'm trying to show you this symptomatic thinking process. How when you learn the Medu Neter, it heightens that. I'm just looking forward to being with y'all again, and we're gonna have a really good time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So again, family, look at those dates. September 9th through September 17th. I know it's a very short notice. We wanted to definitely make this a trip that people who haven't had an opportunity to go with us in this past beautiful trip we just came off of, that they have the opportunity now. So September 9th through September 17th, you can take the class. And I also believe that there's a special discount for people who traveled with us and who plan to travel with us for the Medu Neter class. Mfundishi, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, there'll be anybody who's part of the HAPI movement already will get a 20% discount. So that's pretty significant when you're dealing with, you know, a large number. So a 20% discount to all those people who participate. So you'll have an option. You can pay it in one payment, or if you break it in two payments, it's not quite 20. It's about maybe 15 to 18% discount if you break it up into several payments. But you have the option. You can get the 20% discount by just paying one payment. You get about close to 15 to 18% discount if you do it in the two payments. Okay. Again, the class starts July 10th and goes all the way to September 5th. So you'll make a payment in July and then another payment in August.
July 10th. That's 2 Sundays from now, in fact. Correct?
Right. Right. A
2
week
weeks from now.
After the International African Arts Festival.
You just took the words right out of my mouth because I wanted to mention that too. So we'll be there in Brooklyn, New York, at the what's this, the 55th annual?
Yeah, 54th or 5th, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. International African Arts Festival that we used to call the Street Festival or the East. I'm proud to say we've been going there for many years, and we will have a HAPI presence there. I'm sure Brother Bob Mfundishi will also have his booth there as well. Barry inside Barry Commodore's Park. Definitely want to come out next weekend, 4th of July weekend, to be a part of that experience. It's a fantastic experience. It's an experience to see the family. For me, it's like almost like a family reunion to people we haven't seen in such a long time. So I'm always happy to go there and with that experience. Yeah, Sister Dr. Brittany Motley put up the post. Actually, the flower of light.
Flower of light. Thank you. That's what we saw at the Sarian. Thank you.
Yes, and she was with us on the trip and part of the HAPI movement as well. All right, so we also had an opportunity in between time to get the aspects of the conference together. For those people who've missed it, or those people who actually want to own or rent a copy, you can do so now. We're happy to say that the conference is now available for people to see. You can own a copy or rent a copy. You can go to HAPIFILM.com, and it's there for your purchase or your rental of that. So, God, you want to say something? And Felicia, it's like you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was just going to tell people who were interested in joining the masterclass. The only book, because we'll be handouts. The only book they really need for the class is my book, Spiritual Warriors, a Healer, and they can just go on Amazon.com and purchase it, or they can go on. They can go on the internet and purchase the book. So this is the only book that you'll need for the particular class. And again, we're offering, the map was fresh. Today was the first day we presented the map. We had a grand opening of the shrine. And so this beautiful wall map of the best wall map that exists on the planet Earth today, dealing with the HAPI Valley, from the 3 mountains of the moon all the way to the Wedgie Wur. And all in between, we have the Nile, we have the trade routes. We talk about ancient Kash as well as ancient Kemet with all the names, the temples, and everything. So we use this. I'm writing a new book on Mfundishi Hotep on the study guide, and all of this is used in the study guide. So this will be part of the classroom material and stuff of that nature. So it's available again. If you really want to know the names, the correct names of ancient Kemet, the correct names of the rulers, this map is a prerequisite.
So, you know what? Can we get a better shot of that? Can you like step back and maybe put it into the screen so everyone can kind of see it? And do you have that for sale?
Yes, it's for sale. So they get it. It's a wall map. So this is like, wow. If they get a look,
that's actually good. You can just kind of scroll it up.
Right, I'll scroll it up. Look.
Wow, that's powerful. About what's the dimensions on that?
I don't know exactly, but I think this is like 2 by maybe 2.5 by 3.5, something like that. Well, that's almost 4 feet high. So it's a perfect wall map. If y'all get a chance to see, this is from the top. We scroll all the way from Tanzania, Kilimanjaro, the Great Uganda, Mount Winzori. We come down to the White Nile. You see Ethiopia, the Blue Nile over to the left. We see a lot of the countries there in ancient Kosh. We have the trade routes. We have the names of all of the cities. If you go up a little further, then you go into Kemet and all the places that we visited. We have them highlighted all the way to the Wedgie Word, to the Nile River. And so it took us 3 years. It was the work of the whole shrine. So we had like more than a dozen people working on this for 3 years, and we finally pulled it together. So this goes to like they've created the timeline. So this would go with your timeline. So if you have one of the Kemetic timelines, they talk about you want to have the map with the timeline so that you can see exactly what's going on when things were happening.
All right. So we have tons of questions here. And one of the questions from the audience is, how can people purchase the map?
Right. We're creating a link now that'll be on my website, mfundishijhutyms.net. But I believe Sister Felicia's also going to have a link also from HAPIFILM. So they'll be able to get it from HAPIFILM or from me.
All right. Also, I see the map is, and I'm just going to say it this way, upside down. Can you explain that?
Right. People who've heard any of my lectures, we talked about things being upside down, inside out, and backwards. Well, on the map, it shows you the directions, and it shows you the words for the directions. So if I just unfold this for a second, there's a key at the top here. So at the top here, I can put this in the camera so you can see that. This is a key here. Okay. So,
okay, we got it.
Right. So you see the word Yabit is here. And Yabit means east, but it also means left. Amenti or Mentet means up, like a menta means west, but it also means right. Rashi or Sut means south, but it's also the word for up. Mahet means north, but it's also the word for down or below. The Nile River flows down north. Your map is upside down. So you've been upside down, inside out, and backwards your whole life. So that's why we try to straighten you out. So that means that your oppressor can go to sleep and you still gonna be messed up because you're going in the wrong direction. And nobody questions that. So we show you the direction and show you how we look. We look up south to the highlands. The southern part of Africa is in a high plateau, the highlands, and it's flowing down north. Europe is below Africa. And all the maps before 1200 were kind of depicted this way. After 1200 in the AD, when Europeans began to explore after the Crusades, they wrote the map in their image. So you went to school with the Mercator map. The Mercator map has 3/4 of the universe in the northern hemisphere. Only half of the universe should be in the northern hemisphere, half in the south. They got Greenland bigger than Australia, but Greenland is an island and Australia is a continent. America can fit into Africa 5 times, but they got them almost the same size on the map. And so we put the proper spatial perspective and the proper direction so that you can begin to get off your head, get on your feet, start thinking symptomatically, and you can begin to teach your children to be great.
Now, you also mentioned the wedgie wear. Like,
Yeah.
what is that for those who don't know?
The wedgie word is Inimadu Necha, means the great green. So what we call the Mediterranean Sea today, the ancient Kemet called the wedgie word, which is an offshoot of the Tethys Sea. The Tethys Sea was connected the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean straight across. All of the Sahara used to be underwater. So I talk about that, in the map. We're giving you a allude to that. That's why you can go out in the Sahara and find saltwater shells. you can find whale bones because that used to be underwater. But at the same time, you can find fresh water because there were monsoon rains where it was flood. You had large lakes in where the Sahara was. So it began to dry up totally about 7,000 years ago. So like Nata Playa would be like just the last remnants of before it was fertile, and there was great water just before they moved into the Happy Valley. So it shows a lot of the people in the Happy Valley migrated not only from south to north, but from west to east. And then this map kind of shows it. And in my book, Mfundishi Jhutyms, especially the second volume, I take you on that trip to Yam. And in the book, Taki, it tells you the Mfundishi Jhutyms had to read the works of Harkuf before he made the trip.
Wow. That's powerful. And you know, I mean, that was one of the biggest takeaways on this last experience, this previous experience we had to Kemet, was the same downloads information that the ancients were receiving from their ancestors. We're receiving that same information. And we talked about this when we were in Seti's temple in the Bidas, and we were just discussing the time and how we're closer in time to Cleopatra VII, who lived in the 1st century AD, than she is to Khufu or Khafra, the pyramid builders. You know, there's almost a 500-year difference in terms of time, how we're closer to her than she is to them. And that's all considered ancient Kemet, which is amazing. But then when you think about the Kemetiu in terms of how they move and how they responded to their story, until their love for their culture and the downloads that they were receiving from their ancestors, is the same way those ancestors are speaking to us today. And they left this information there for us so that we will know our way, as we'll know who we are.
Right. You heard the expression, the writing is on the wall. Well, it's still on the wall waiting for you to read it.
That is facts. It's still on the wall waiting for you to read. And they left it. And it was almost in the way. And I remember Chancellor Williams alluding to this, not alluding to, stating this in Destruction of Black Civilization. They did this purposefully because they saw what was going to happen. And they started to leave things there, the codes there for us, so that we would know, you know, one, who they were, and two, to know who we are. And it's powerful because that is definitely still there, and it's definitely a big part of this. So this travel experience that we're talking about is not just travel. It's about an experience, an enriching experience that will open your eyes up and have you seeing things that you did not see before. In ancient Kemet, when you think in terms of the spirituality, just how powerfully spiritual these people were, our ancestors were, they're still there. The spirit is still there, and the spirit is so strong there. And it begin to talk to you in ways and kind of show you the way, show you the path. Because those, you know, people, that energy is not gone. That energy is still there. You're talking about the most spiritual people that ever walked the face of this earth. So you know the presence is still there. And you can feel it when you're walking on the now.
And Taki, I want to just bring this out so that people totally understand that the ancient Kash, or we would call like Nubia, or today Ethiopia, Sudan, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, that was the parent of ancient Kemet. So I want you to understand that was the ancient Kemet came from that full blown. So when we showed the Quastel incense burner and things of that nature, we were showing that all the paraphernalia of ancient Kemet existed before Kemet came into being as a nation state. It existed in the interior of Africa, and we can prove it. That's symptomatic thinking again. We can prove it. We got facts. We got the pictures. We got the carvings. And I also want to say that Kemet, as great as it was just the mouthpiece of the whole African continent. Not Asia, not Europe, not the America. It was the mouthpiece of the whole African continent. So some of the experience that was happening in South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, all was deposited in ancient Kemet. So Kemet became the mouthpiece of the African continent. And so as you begin to read the glyphs, my brother Imhotep gave perfect examples of the symptomatic thinking of tracing language and how thought and culture symptomatically. So we can see these words, same words in a West African country, and same words in the South African country, the same words in Central Africa that's being used in ancient Kemet, showing this ma'at, harmonious balance, symptomatic thinking.
Right. So as we talk about the language, just want to kind of go over again the class. Do you know the address off the top of your head? If not, we can put it up.
504 West 126th Street, off of Amsterdam Avenue in Harlem, New York. 504
Okay, say that.
West 126th Street.
504 West 126th Street.
Yeah, because we're the ground floor, 1A. 504 West 126th Street.
So it's almost like right going up the hill a little bit.
Yeah, as you're starting to go. As soon as you turn off of 125th Street onto Amsterdam Avenue, you're starting to go up towards City College. It's the first block. You just make a left. It's right there.
Okay. 504 West 126th Street.
I think if you were taking the train, the one train stops one block from the 1 or 2 blocks from there. You can just walk 2 or 3 blocks at the one train. You can take the A train and walk maybe 4 or 5 blocks, the A, C, or D.
So something that we didn't talk about was the capacity, because we know we talked about in-house and also the virtual as well, but the seating capacity, what is the capacity for the actual center itself?
It's a whole temple. I mean, we could seat 50. We had at our open house today, we had over 50 people there, and we were comfortable.
So we need to see definitely 50 people at least inside that open house. So everyone in this tri-state area that's on this call, I know a lot of you people here, I'm looking at your names. I ain't gonna call you out. We want to see you in this class.
Yeah,
like this class is a must. This
and
is
they're gonna be blown away when they're looking. The Medunettes on the walls and everything, every room, we got one section dedicated to Mfundishi Jhutyms, another section dedicated to Kemet Hatshepsut Aman, Hatshepsut. We have another section dedicated to Ursa Ma'at the Tepra and Seti. We have another section dedicated to Akhenaten, another section dedicated to Tet Ankh Amen. Then we have a whole library and reading room and a study room where we have books dealing with the topics that we talking about. It's a phenomenal center for its size.
Wow, that's powerful. What did they so the brother that put it together, can you talk about him for a minute? What's his name? Who is this brother? We need to know about him.
Let me give you his card. Hold on one second. Because it's called the center itself is literally called it's our home in terms of our shrine, but it's a museum, and the museum name. Give me 1 second. It's the Genesis International Culture Museum.
So while you're looking for that, I just want to give a shout out to everyone that has given us the donations tonight or showing the love offerings. Thank you. As we say, mur. Definitely a lot of love tonight. We want to say thank you, everyone. It's been a while. We've been out of
give me 1 minute.
Out of touch. It's been a lot going on. We've been traveling, been moving around, a lot of moving and shaking. And we're so happy to be back. This is our first show in almost a month and a half. But we're ready to kind of hit the ground running again. And we don't want to leave you guys that long again. So we definitely appreciate the love. Thank you so much. It's been a tremendous night. So we want to kind of shift gears for a second, but wait for Mfundishi to come back. We really want to get back to some of the announcements we have. Like I said, it's been a lot of back-end work. I know we were kind of late tonight. We were supposed to be on at 7, then 8, then changed to 9, but that's all because we were trying to get everything ready for you guys. And definitely the class was one of them. The trip was another aspect. We have one more special announcement to make. But before we talk about that, you ready to tell them, Mfundishi?
Yes, sir. So it was called the Genesis Museum of International Black Culture. And he's actually worked with Dr. Jeffries at City College and stuff like that. They've been doing this work for 30, 40 years. And he has a tremendous, and Felicia, you didn't see, the whole basement is full with artifacts. So we're trying to get the whole 125th Street mark and make that this National Culture Museum. So his name is Donald Clayton. Brother Donald Clayton, he's the curator of that. And who
did the artwork though? That's what I want to know. Who did it?
One of my students. So Brother Donald Clayton basically did most of the work almost all by himself. He has a partner, but his partner's 90-something years old. So he's doing almost all the work. And then my shrine has come in and we've aided and we're bringing life to this place. So Felicia, Felicia was there.
Yeah, because I heard you talking about it earlier. So first of all, peace to the family. let me tell you, it's so good to see you guys. It feels so good to be back on HAPI Talks. Let me tell you, when I walked in, I was like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just like a feeling like, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, we just came back from Kemet, and I was like, when you first walk in, I just kind of looked to the left and I saw a sarcophagus. I was like, wait, what? I was like, what is going on over here? And you had to take your shoes off. It was very nice. And for all of you guys, I didn't take any stills because I was literally on live and videotaping the whole entire time. So check out our IG, which you guys should all be following, HAPIFILM on IG, okay? And look at the live, and you can see all of the beautiful things. It was, I mean, every time you turn, it was just beautiful. There's not one piece of wall that you see. Everything is covered. Everything is covered. It was such a beautiful ceremony. The libations, everything was so beautiful. And, and I was telling Mfundishi, I was like, I am so happy that you're bringing, your classes to this space. And the brother that owns it, he was so, we talked about this idea of power of unity, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But him and I we were talking about how we're always saying we need to work together. We need to work together. But this is a classic example of how we are all working together. This Madhu Netra class, which is freaking awesome that you're even doing. Because see, if you guys are following us on IG, okay, you guys got to follow us on IG, because IG, we don't ever think about like going live all the time. But if you're around Mfundishi, he's like, let's go live. And he's, dropping some jewels. And so when he started telling me, we were talking about this class, Taki and him, they talked about it. And so then, I'm on 125th and he's like, oh, and we're going to do this and that. I was getting so excited. And that evening, I spoke to Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, and I was just telling her a little bit about the class. She said, make sure you sign me up. She's called me back to make sure that I signed her up. She's like, I don't want to miss this. And so you have someone who has been studying all of her life, this what we're talking about, and she cannot wait to be up in this class. And so I'm telling you guys now, you've got to sign up for this. I mean, this is, you're not going to have another time to do it. And you know what, Mfundishi, I didn't hear you tell them about the graduation part. Did you mention the graduation?
No, I didn't really. I just told them it went to the 5th, just before we go to Kemet. And so
yes.
I told Felicia that those people who are going to Kemet, we'll give them their graduation diploma in Egypt on the Nile.
It's like, what? So let me tell you something. So not only are you in this class with Mfundishi, okay, and really, you guys who came, and I see a lot of you guys. I see Kevin, Demetrius, Miss Allen. All you guys are up in this house, right? You guys have to talk and just put comments in about how it was just listening to Mfundishi on this trip, so that other people really understand what's going on here. Because if you knew what was going on, you would want to be on this trip. And then to just have like a certificate, like on the Happy River, like what? Listen, we can't even make this stuff up. And so as I was on 125th listening to Mfundishi talk about, we're going to do this, we're going to infuse this and that, I was like, damn, I can't wait. And so you guys will see me up in the class. And I hope, like like if you're in the area that you are sitting right there, just to feel the energy of this space, because that's really important. But that's the power of unity. This brother had a space, Mfundishi has programming, and they're working together. Because one alone, you can only go a little tiny bit. But now they're working together, and they brought in HAPI, and it's like, what? So I'm just saying, y'all, we need to make sure that we are supporting this endeavor, because
again, I just want to give a shout out to Brother Donald Clayton. Brother Donald Clayton, he's executive director, and the center was called the Genesis Museum of International Black Culture. Okay, and now it's the home of Jehuti Haru Nebhu per Ankh.
Yes.
So we're holding all our classes there. We're holding, and just so people know, we're holding crystallology classes there. Herbology class is still going to be virtual, but we'll be offering other classes there, Kemetic yoga, Kupagani and Gumi, the African-based combat system. All of that's going to be housed out of this particular center.
Which we filmed, you know, so you can see a little bit of it. You know, because Wajedi was getting it in. Wajedi was getting it in, okay? And so you just look at, and you know, the audio isn't that great, you know, because the fans were going, and it was just like the energy, but you don't even need the audio. Just look at them getting it in. And Mfundishi did a little quick something too. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, okay. You know, so yeah, you guys have got to support this. And I didn't know, but Wajedi is actually, if you don't live in the area, he's one of Mfundishi's master students. He's doing it online.
So you can be in Texas, California, and still learn Kupagani and Gumi, the AHA Kemet system.
That is awesome.
So we're taking modern technology, again, Taki, symptomatic thinking, to use it to our advantage. It's been used to oppress us. We can use this modern technology to help enlighten us. And so people, we're trying to take advantage of this. We have the space, we have the time. So if you got the time and the space, and like I said, if you have to miss 1 or 2 classes, that's all right, because it's going to be recorded. You can go back and see it, even if you just want to see the class 2 or 3 times. You know, you can do that. And those people who live out of that 100-mile area, live stream, you know, it'll be in. But if you live within 100 miles, you want to come and be in the synergy.
In the synergy, like that, in the synergy.
Yes, you know what? Feel that energy, you know, in there, because it's powerful.
Yes, yes. Strongly recommend everyone do that. This is our first step in reclaiming our legacy, because that language piece unlocks all the mysteries. How Professor Small says that. I can't think of the saying right now, but definitely our history unlocks the white man's mysteries.
Yeah, he changes it up all the time. You know, but it's always history unlocks the white man's mystery.
Yeah, so no better yet than way to do that than understanding that language. You know, so we have another special announcement. Are we ready for that, Sister Felicia?
We are, Brother Taki. We are.
Yeah, so it's been a long time for this, but definitely. So, Gad, you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, you know, so One Africa, right? You know, for those of you that have been ride or dying with HAPI, you know,
and there's some ride or die. There's some definitely ride or dies out there. Some real hard happy people
in the house.
And let me tell you, shout out to those happy people.
Yes, and those ride or die that were over there with 110-degree weather, they was getting it in. So I have to just shout out. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. So finally, One Africa is now, you can go and purchase it. You can purchase and watch all 12 hours. I don't know if you can do it all in one setting, but it's there. You can get the digital download. There's not a DVD for this. You can only do digital download, but you can
stream it. You don't have to download. You can also stream it anywhere.
Yes. Stream it on Vimeo. So if you go to our website on HAPIFILM.com, you can go and you can go ahead and finally purchase it, which is great. We've been getting tons and tons of emails about this, asking us when, and so we're so happy that it's up there and ready to go for everyone. So make sure. You know, go ahead.
And part of the delay is just kind of going through each moment of the conference and making sure everything is together for you guys before we put it out. And you know, as we were there, you know, we were all people, the facilitators, Brittany, Felicia, and I were running in and out and have an opportunity to really, really watch each presentation. But having an opportunity to really watch the conference from the beginning to the end was such a powerful experience for myself, even though I was there. This is something that was historical, obviously, because of what happened, the background of it, the attacks on the original conference, and where we came to do it in Detroit. And shout out to everyone in Detroit, Dennis, Dr. Ken Harris. Can't thank that brother enough. Definitely looking forward to doing more with Dr. Ken Harris. He was the facilitator, the moderator of the conference, knocked it out of the park. There were people who were supposed to be the moderators and who backed out after we had that second wave of attack that came from within, and people that really, really stepped up to the plate and really came out and showed out. And Dr. Ken Harris is one of them. We had some people who were originally supposed to be the openers. We had to pivot. Brother Mfundishi came, stepped in last minute, opened it, knocked it out the park. Couldn't pick the better person to open up that conference. It's a beautiful experience. You can go to the website or you can use this link right here. But yeah, so I mean, so Mfundishi, what were your, remember, I know this is like almost going back a month and a half now, but what were your thoughts on the conference?
Well, first of all, I thought it accomplished everything we want. We talk about one Africa, the power of unity. And so I think that was a perfect example. We showed it as opposed to just talking about it. I think there was no conflict between any of the speakers. We were coming from different roads of life and different aspects of the economy and different aspects of even the culture. You know, everybody wasn't, you know, but we were all operating together for one aim. So I really like that. I want to just say dua to the whole Detroit community and everybody who came out. I had my vending table right there, HAPI, and boy, y'all really gave me some love. My daughter was there. She was like, "Boy, Dad, they really love us." We was getting like big love. People were really supporting. So people were putting their money where their mouth was. So that was great. We saw that operational unity and economic development. We saw that. It was live, and people were excited about each of the different vendors. Like I say, it was very diverse in terms of coming from one aspect, and we attacked it from many different perspectives. So that was good. We had some community people speaking. You had just the scholars speaking. You had, so it was great. I really enjoyed it and look forward to something like that again.
Yes. And with that, the HAPI marketplace is something that was kind of in a sense overlooked, but that the energy that circulated around the vendors and around the entrepreneurs there was such a beautiful experience, and it added to the overall presence of what it is, that overall mission statement of the HAPI movement. And it was just like, wow, this is hit it on, like you said, on all levels. We touched on almost everything that we set out to do. And it couldn't have been done any better. And the people that were there and supported, people came from all over the world to be a part of this.
And Miss Sequoia, no, I think Miss Sequoia takes the vote because she was on 3 trains to get to us.
Yeah.
Sequoia, Miss Sequoia got there, and she was the first person to buy a live stream ticket. And then when she found out that we were going to be in Detroit, she's like, "I'm going to make it there." So not only did she get there, she took 3 trains to get to Detroit to check us out. Wow.
Yeah.
And those who supported and bought my book, I want to say dua. I mean, we were there for a couple of days. I was out of books. I was out of books the first 2 hours. So people, I just say dua for the love. Dua for the love. It was it was fantastic.
Yeah. Shout out to Sidney Jones. To see the brother in the comments. But yeah, it was a beautiful experience. But this One Africa video is ready, and it's a very fair price point. You can actually rent this 48-hour rental, or you can just purchase it and stream it anytime you want. It's 12 hours of the most dynamic presentations from all our top scholars. You're going to want to see this. Brother Kaba, Sister Shara Ali, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Roslyn Jeffries, Brother Mfundishi, Asar Imhotep, Dr. Ken Harris. Oh man, Dr. Susan Tata.
Bayana
Bello. We had such a huge myriad of people and family. This conference did not come together without challenges. There was challenges before, and there was challenges, and we were trying to do it in Egypt. There was challenges in Detroit, and people stepped up to the plate. Shout out to all the presenters that stood strong and stood tall and came out. And this is definitely a way for you to show them your love as well. You're not going to want to miss this. If you missed it before, even if you saw it, definitely want to have and own a copy of it. And you can do so by going to HAPIFILM.com.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Wow.
And Felicia, I did tell them, I showed them the map, and I told them, you know, they need to jump on the map. We gave a presentation on it, and people was just like all over it. So we sold 4 or 5 right there on the spot, you know. So
Yeah, you know, I'm supposed to. I got to pick up mine, and I had to get one for Dr. Brittany Motley. But she texted me. She's like, make sure I get a map. So I'm gonna make. You know, I'm gonna see you. You're gonna be on. I'm gonna be on 1, 2, but we're gonna talk about it.
Right.
Because,
I'll be out there Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to get it before the International African Street Festival. Yes. We probably have to.
Yes, which I heard you guys talking about, and definitely, you know, we have quite a few people that are going to be coming through. Asar has already said he's going to come up. He's on the East Coast now. He's like, I'm going to be there. We are, you know, the African Street Festival is really exciting. I used to come to this when I didn't live in New York. That's like 20 years ago. So this is why this is like so cool that we are actually there. And it's just going to be, you know, we have some really beautiful imported items from Egypt that we brought in, you know, for people to, you know, to purchase. We got some stuff going on, but just come out and just, you know, let's get some pictures. Let's get up on social media, and we just need to feel the energy. Kemet really energized us, in, you know, at this, you know, let me just characterize it like this. In February, we didn't know what we didn't know, right? We didn't know, you know, we thinking one thing, but like Taki said, ancestors was like, oh no, we got something better. So then, you know, we hit One Africa. And when I tell you, it took me a good like 2 to 3 weeks just to come down from the high of One Africa, and only to be just like, woof, you know, getting this Kemet thing together. And then we get to Kemet with 85 people. And I don't think people understand, like, we were traveling, you know, with elders who were just in there. And I was, you know, talking about this morning, that I have a picture with Mfundishi in the middle of the pyramids. He's coming out and I'm going in. And these elders, I don't know what type of juice they were drinking, but they were hanging. Dr. Roslyn was hanging. Dr. Jay was hanging. You know, Miss Allen, all you guys were hanging, and it felt, you know, it was just like it was just such a beautiful feeling. My kids are still talking about this. They want to go back. My youngest one, who was 15, was a little sad that he was, you know, wasn't going to see his family, you know. And so this is really important. If you guys can get with us in September, you know, make sure you make it happen. And someone was talking about this is a one in a lifetime, you know, opportunity. No, we need to be going back. We continuously go back. We keep going back. And Mfundishi said 31 times. I don't. Have you stopped counting, Taki?
No, it's 30, yeah, 32.
Yeah, and so it's like you keep going and you get something new. So
every time.
Yeah, like we got to understand this is just like a pathway for us, you know, just to get on with, you know, doing the things that we need to be doing and know who we are. So,
you know, especially when you think of how people don't want us to know our history. They try to stop us from coming. They try to stop us from having this pilgrimage. You understand the importance of it, especially when you're there and your ancestors connect with you in a real way and start to show you things. You start to realize just how important it is for you to be there on the soil, to have your feet on the ground. And you know, it gives you a whole different perspective on this. So it's not just a trip. It's not like going to, you know, seeing the Eiffel Tower in Paris, you know, or you know, going to see Parliament in London. You know, for Africans to visit Kemet is a very special homecoming for us, and we're excited to say we have this homecoming upcoming in September.
And you know, and yes, thank you, Taki, because that's one of the things, you know, Mfundishi, he set us straight in the beginning. He was like, listen, we ain't just going in there as tourists. We're going in there as students. These are our libraries. You know, these are our sacred spaces. We prayed before we went in. Like you know, it's such a, you know, and I don't know about other tour companies. I just know about AKET Tours. For 23 years, Taki has been bringing people together. And, you know, none of us, like some of us, you know, we might have known one person or maybe 2 people, but within like 2 days, we were like straight family, like straight up family. And that feeling right there, you know, I don't know if you could just get that anywhere, you know. And so I think, you know, we underestimate when we talk about traveling, you know, places. You got to really, you know, be, you know, clear about who you're traveling with. And this experience, I saw Sidney Jones, you know, you know, he was on the trip with us. And one other thing, and then I'm just gonna stop talking about this trip, because I tell you, this was such a very good experience. But there was a brother, Mfundishi, that you and I saw him in the, and he actually gave a donation, that Kevin, that you ended up, you know, doing some work with, and he has a whole new name.
Yeah, I did a spiritual consultation afterwards, you know, after the trip.
Yeah, we started seeing things popping up on Instagram. I was like, wait, who is this? Did he come with us? And then I started looking at the pictures. I was like, oh my God, he got a new name.
His name is Haru Jhutyms.
Yes. Yeah.
Haru. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So we had a really good time. So if you can make it happen, definitely. And it's good. It's kid friendly. We had a few kids there who had really good time. So yeah, definitely make it happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, you know, with that, family, you know, we definitely want to say thank you for coming, being with us tonight. Oh, wow. Like we're not going no place right this second. It was like, I don't know, like we might have to stick around for just a little while longer. Well, we'll see what happens here. But again, want to say thank you for the love. And again, with the brother Kevin, want to shout out his company on plumbing. See it there, definitely.
Yes.
Wait. Wait.
Caprica Haru.
And one more thing, Taki. Now, so this is what we're talking about when people are really supporting. We're supporting like what we're doing. So not only did this brother come on this trip, okay, he also took an ad out in the commemorative book, you know, which also is helping us with this HAPI movement. So, you know, this economic, you know, because not everybody can do everything. Not everybody can be online or whatever. But, you know, putting your dollars where your heart is and where your mind is and where it should be, that's what's up. So I want to just give him a special shout out for that because, you know, he has been, and he, like others, you know, the list goes on. We got Tiffany Wright, another one from Detroit. She, you know, she was there. She came with us to Kemet. She was also a vendor, and she, you know, put an ad out in the paper. Rashamel Combo. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. Daniel LaRoche. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But I'm just saying, we got a lot. We're gonna be talking about them and featuring them throughout the next couple of months.
Yeah,
and the newsletter.
And you know, when we first started this thing, you know, the film being the foundation, but the reality, the movement was the foundation because. You know, we had prior to that, we had like Nubia and the Tekken, and I just wanted to be like, you know what, we just want to do a whole nother film and just kind of goes just in the library and somewhere in people's houses or on the shelf somewhere or by the DVD players. So before we even set out to do this HAPI thing, it had to be a movement. And that's what for me was the motivation. And, you know, shout out to our ancestor, Brother Rock, when he just kept urging me to make another film. I was like, well, what are we going to do? And it was like, you know, it has to be something that has movement in it, something that people can really get behind and sustain it. And, you know, Sister Felicia came on board. We were able to kind of transform the film piece into a real movement through everything we're doing here, HAPI Talks and the newsletters. And you people, the Love People Show, definitely want to shout out to everyone that's a huge supporter of this African Renaissance, this HAPI movement, because it's real. In the beginning of it, I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what shape it was going to take. But I see now that this is a real movement. And shout out to everyone who's really stood tall with us and being a part of this. And yeah, we definitely love you guys. You guys are definitely, you know, make us proud to be Black people, you know, and that's what's up.
Yes. Like we said it in One Africa, we were like, at the conference, we were like, you know, this is, you know, this is a good day for Black people. This is a good day for Black people. So, yes, we have a nice elder Black man back there waiting to come on. who helped us set the tone for our trip. I'm going to bring him on now. Hey, Professor Small.
Hi, Sister Felicia, Mfundishi.
My big brother, how
How you doing, Brother Asar? How you doing, Brother Taki?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm down here in Richmond, Virginia, celebrating Juneteenth with a group of strong African people down here, and we've been having fun all day. It's been a good day. So it's happy to see the HAPI group assessing HAPI, which is an important experience. You know, HAPI is like Ra. You can try to stop it, but you're just going to get burned by it, you know? And so we do what we do because it's a truth, you know? I don't think people understood. There's so many of us out here calling ourselves scholars and this and that, but we still think the freedom struggle is a game. You know, we think it's something you do to appease white people, and they don't understand that the freedom struggle is a process. And HAPI laid out that economic aspect of the process to stimulate people to understand that's a path we've got to take very seriously. And you can look at your ancestors to learn how the path should go, you know. And I thought we would threaten the white power structure, but we threaten the Negro collaborator power structure more than we threatened the white power structure. And their reaction was furious and fierce. And that's interesting to note the history. All good content must be put into context so people can understand without even saying anything further. But I know the work that we've been doing for the last 3-4 years, or however long this thing has taken us, is a good work. And anybody that tried to injure it, sabotage it, retaliate against it without cause is doing a bad work. And it needs to be said, at least in that way. You know, I look at Baba Mfundishi. I know how long he's been doing this work, sincerely and seriously. This is not a collaborator. He ain't waiting for nobody to give him no degree honor from the enemy's institution to validate his love for self. You know, he's been teaching that love for self. And HAPI became another platform and forum for which he can teach an even greater audience that love for self. Brother Asar, I watched him grow through the years. Brilliant scholarship, absolutely brilliant scholarship. And he's validated by his love for his own people. And for what Dr. Asa Hilliard said to us, that true freedom is to be shackled to your identity. True freedom is to be shackled to your identity. You know? And Brother Taki, you know, you've hung in there. And I do appreciate the compliment you gave Sister Felicia, because when you brought her on board, it allowed for HAPI to go to the next level of communication technocracy with the skills she had being a filmmaker and a communicator. And then you had our grandfather, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. I don't know, I could speak on that man for the next 1,000 years and would not say enough about his sincerity and his commitment to the freedom struggle and to his race, you know, and to the young people. All of his life, he's been trying to teach the next generation how to be African freedom fighters using intellect and technology to further that cause. So shout out to Dr. Leonard Jeffries. There is no second. He doesn't have an equal, you know. And he could have collaborated with the system. He's got the PhD and big time PhD, Columbia University, masters from Lausanne in Switzerland, he chose the path to walk in the footstep of the ancestors for the sake of the race, you know? And so true freedom is being shackled to that African Kemetic identity, period. And if people don't understand that, then they'll have to catch up later. We have to leave them side the road until we come back. You know, they may look like they got it, but actions speak louder than words. And we've seen the actions of lookalikes. And I can say it. If they want to come to me, step to me. There ain't but a few people on the earth foolish enough to do that. And I'm not boasting. I'm actually being real nice to say. But HAPI is an extraordinary phenomenon. It is a movement. It's a part, it's not a movement unto itself. It's an extension of our freedom, of an aspect of our freedom movement. An extension of an aspect of our freedom movement, which has been going on this side for nearly 500 years. And so HAPI is the next step in that. Because now we brought our perfection, Kemet, to the table as a tool to be used in the freedom process, with economic being at the core of how that tool would be used. And I think we've done well. I think people understood us. That's why people supported us. That's why people still support us. That's why people follow us. And that's why the HAPI community is just going to expand and expand and expand. And we're going to reach more, teach more. And change is going to come, like Sam said. So I'm glad I just got on board for a minute. And I've been enjoying myself down in Richmond, celebrating with the brothers and sisters down here, Freedom Day, and explaining what that really means to our people so that we don't go on the wrong historical path. Because, you know, I truly believe history erases the mystery and allow us to work our black magic. And we shouldn't be afraid of it. And HAPI stepped out with a film that showed history in a way no one has showed history before us, so that it could be used to erase the enemy's mystery and establish ourselves on a strong economic foundation that was validated by the behavior of our ancestors that built the greatest civilization in the world. So that's who we be. And so I'm happy to be a part of HAPI.
And we're happy to have you a part of it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and for those that don't know, when it comes to the foundational piece of HAPI, Professor Smalls is definitely a lot of late night conversations. He actually even named the film, the subtitle, The Role of Economics in the Development of Civilization. That came right from his head, or came right through him, or whatever. But Professor Smalls named the film. A lot of the aspects of the film in terms of the migration and just the African confluence came from deep discussions with Professor Smalls. So when he say we, he's definitely, you know, he means that, because he was definitely the foundational piece of just the, you know, the pillars of this HAPI movement.
Well, you're being very gracious to an old man, but you young people were kicking it. I remember the first time I saw Mfundishi's contribution to the HAPIFILM. I go like, damn, I didn't know that boy was that smart. You know, I mean, I know he was brilliant and stuff, right? But it was like watching a new Mfundishi. I've read his books, I've been his friend, but to watch him bringing his skills over all these years to the table and not playing. And I'm so happy, and I give the greatest respect to Asar, to him, to Dr. J, of course, to Felicia and Yutaki, and the others who stuck with us when the storms came. And even when the storm went past and the effects of the storm came, Mfundishi, Asar stayed on the front line. So I got the greatest respect for them, because that's how soldiers fight a war. You know, that's how Dessalines stood. That's how McIndow stood. That's how Malcolm stood. You know, that's how what's the young Taharka stood. You know, it's freedom or death, no backing up, straight ahead to the liberation of our people. And so HAPI is a phenomena that's only going to grow into a greater phenomenon until we finish the work we've come to do, or we pass the ball on to the next generation, because we have to leave. But that's the reality, and you can't touch that.
Can't touch that. So I want to say thank you, Professor Small, for coming.
Yes, sir.
Us. And we can definitely, on that note, close it out. Want to remind everyone of the 3 main announcements tonight. One is the MetaNetcha classes. You can go to HAPIFILM.com, sign up for the MetaNetcha classes. The Master MetaNetcha class. I'm saying the correct, Mfundishi?
Yes. Master MetaNetcha and Spiritual Consciousness.
Okay.
With systematic spirituality, yes. With symptomatic thinking, thoughts.
Symptomatic thinking. We did a good job of talking about the symptomatic thinking, so people understand the importance for us to change the way we think.
Yes. Also, we made the announcement about our next pilgrimage to the HAPI, to the Nile, to Egypt, to Kemet, September 9th to September 17th. iCareTours.com. Go sign up for that. And the big announcement was the availability of the One Africa Power and Unity Conference. The video is available now to stream it, or you can download it, you can rent it, or you can also own it. And definitely want to also make mention of those people who were there earlier. The map, this powerful map that Mfundishi has. You can definitely go and get a copy of that as well. And at MfundishiJhutyms.net, the website is there. And also, again, and importantly, the love people showed. Thank you so much for the love offerings that was given tonight. We mean that from our hearts. We greatly appreciate that, and it goes really in a good way. So with that, we want to say good night, and we'll be with you guys very, very soon. Peace.
Wait, Taki. One more thing. I just want to share a picture really fast of the brother that we've been talking about all night, that Mfundishi named. Right there.
Yes.
Right there. That's us in Kemet.
So you get a special shout out there.
Yeah.
Brother
Kepraka Haru now.
Kepraka Haru.
Yes.
I don't know if he's still on with us, but I'm sure he'll see the recording of it. All right, family.
Oh, yeah, that's him. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
There he is. Do our brother.
Okay.
All right, family. God, please, like you have some final words.
You know what? My final words is that I just love all you guys. This has been great. And I so thank Professor for coming through. Yeah. So thank you guys. And I look forward to you guys in that MetaNetcha class. I'm telling you, get your right and left hands ready, because you have to do everything with your right and left hand, because you have to keep the both sides of your brain working. So just get ready, and I will definitely be in the house for that class. That's it.
All right, people. All right. See you guys soon. Peace. Hotep.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?